What's going on, everybody? It is Brian and Fearless,
What's
uh,
going down?
back with another episode of the Trial and Error podcast. On today's episode, we're going to talk about the end of expertise and the rise of vibes. Um, and basically, this is just really, it's not, we're not doing anti-expertise. This is kind of a pro understanding episode. Like, why are people more aligned with um, the vibe somebody's giving off as opposed to what they actually know, and what we're seeing play out on social media, play out in the real media and stuff like that. And so before we get too far into it, my name is Brian Hill. I run a marketing agency that I'm actively working on shutting parts of it down so that I can teach business owners how to get out there and start recording themselves. And to do that, I've created a community called the Content to Cash Machine. I also have a free Facebook group where I post our weekly content creation prompts so that you can, these are just quick hooks that you can use to shoot video to drive business to whatever you got going on. And so that's kind of that's what I got going. I don't have, well, I'll go ahead and throw my thing up on the screen here. I have a QR code for my stand store. I got a lot of stuff on there, from access to my groups, classes. I even added an AI prompt pack where it's basically all the prompts that I use to do my marketing and business stuff. And these are like complex, like engineered prompts that I spend a lot of time on. So that's what we got. That's who I am, Fearless.
Yeah, same thing. I'm just a guy with a big ass head who loves to listen to people gripe about stuff. So I basically offer perspective.
All right. And
That's it.
if you want to call Fearless, that's the QR code to get in contact with them. If you
Boom,
need a life coach that's going to help you gain a new perspective on things, that's who I would recommend.
boom, right there.
So
Yeah, let's jump into this thing, man. I thought it. So I told you I wanted to tell you something or whatever, but I didn't want to do it over the um before we got on. Dude, I got to tell you, man. I've been watching your blurting wild dad stuff. Not just that, but your other um your stuff with helping people like get on or whatever.
mhm.
I like your videos, man.
Thank you.
And
Thank
they're
you.
actually like really like I'm one of those guys who people who've been harding them. So I'm like, yeah, no, like your stuff is really good. And if I could critique a little bit, I think that you should start putting some money towards getting it to more people
Yep.
or whatever, because I think that they're good enough to get out there.
Yep. That's in the content plan, actually. I'm kind of building
Yeah.
out a strategy for what I'm going to do next year to actually really build out the Blurting While Dad channel, and seeing where that goes. And so that's kind of boosted posts and things along those lines. And plus, I'm not changing up, but I'm adding some new things, some more features to it.
What are you
Um,
adding?
So, so I'm actually adding just different things that have been one-off kind of segments. I'm making them recurring features, like my character issues feature, where I take a character and kind of deconstruct them, talk about their history and how I think they can be presented better, or what I'm saying, or changed a little bit. Um, and then a current event segment, basically called "How Fucked Are We?" and more or less
Hmm.
it talks about a lot of things that are going on in current events and kind of gives a scale to how much impact it's actually going to have on a regular person. And so last week, I think it was all about, you know, military strikes and, extrajudicial kind of killings and stuff. And so I
Mhm.
said, basically, on the scale of how effed are we, it was kind of a Walking Dead season one,
Okay.
where we can arbitrarily just bomb people out of existence
Oh
with no
wow.
evidence, with no evidence. And so I'm doing that. I'm doing the characters issues, and I'm also doing ask a dad. Basically, it's just being a grown man and answering questions from younger folks who may be trying to figure out careers, parenting, things along those lines, and
Mhm.
answering those questions live on the stream. And so those are the kind of the segments that I'm coming up with. I'm actually making it more into a show as opposed to kind of a live stream. And so
Gotcha. So there's there's a couple books that I read that I really think that you should do. Um, I think that you should do a whole thing on actually. Hold on, let me bring this up. What's going on, everybody? I'm trying to show Brian again. Me and my books or whatever. Can you see this, Brian?
Yep.
You should get this book. There's two of them. It's the science. I think it's the science of superheroes, and then it's the science of supervillains.
Okay.
Here's the other one right here. Can you see that?
Yep. I think I might actually have the superheroes one somewhere in my house.
Okay, then
Yeah, I'm gonna look at that one.
You gotta read that because I think that that's a really fun segment on taking what would it actually take for like a supervillain or even a superhero like Flash, for instance. If Flash is running, what is the real life consequence of him taking off standing right next to you?
Oh, well, they explained that. So in the books, there's this thing called the Speed Force that he taps into, and basically, it more or less it alters the
Right, but I'm
physics
talking about
around.
in real life.
That's what I'm
Though.
saying. And so they've tried to make it fit in real life because people have asked that question, like, well, you got somebody that's running faster than the speed of light in Earth gravity. That would absolutely create a level of friction that would
Right,
absolutely obliterate continents and stuff. And so
right.
they kind of roped in a narrative element where um it 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 kind of isolates the effects of what he does so it doesn't hurt
Mm,
other people unless he wants it to be externalized. But
right. But I'm saying though,
yeah,
like I mean that's a great observation. That's a great explanation as well. Hey, what's up, Chris? Um, I think that's a great thing, whatever. But I'm talking about real life type stuff. Like read the book,
okay.
or take some of your favorite superheroes as well as your favorite supervillains and tie into like if they were to do this in real life, what would Thor's hammer actually do to a continent or to a person that he's throwing it at?
Yeah.
Like, how much does it weigh versus how much torque or power is unleashed when he throws Myrna at somebody?
Well, they actually did a show. Actually, was this a TV show too? Because I've
I
watched
don't,
the show.
I don't know. Either way, I don't care.
Yeah.
I want you to do it.
Okay.
Like you to do it. I don't care if it already exists. I'm talking about you do it. Now, if you want, you can go back and watch some of those shows and put it together yourself. You're more than welcome to.
Mhm.
Or do like I do and read the book and then try to remember everything that I read. Which I just I actually finished reading last night, The Sunset Limited.
Okay.
I read the play and I also watched it with Tommy Lee Jones and
Samuel
Samuel
Jackson.
Jackson. Funny enough, though, so I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that the Samuel L. Jackson character was spot on.
Hmm.
I don't think that I don't think that the Tommy Lee Jones character was spot on based on the book.
Okay.
Like not whatsoever, because it was saying that White was a younger guy.
Yeah.
Now again, I'm not saying that they didn't have the right actor for it or that they didn't have an amazing actor for it.
Hmm.
I'm just saying I don't think that they had the right actor for it. That he's a great actor in general.
Yeah.
I just think that for those two individuals, I think that White's character should have been a little younger.
And see, I don't have the benefit of um I don't have seen. All right, I got some here. Throwing that on there. Hey, Anya.
Hey, Anya.
Um, I think for me, and this is just only from the perspective, I haven't actually read like the stage play, um,
Yeah.
and the novelization of that. I think from just the movie watching me, he made sense because they're peers, and so. what I look at it is Samuel L. Jackson can't necessarily pull the age card and say, well, you're just young and you don't understand, you haven't lived an experience or lived the world and stuff like that. And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, it makes sense, but I see where you're going with it. But for me, it makes sense that they're the same in the same age cohort,
Mm-hmm.
just because they can have a conversation on equal footing based on lived experience. You
Right.
know, he's coming as a grizzled old professor who is kind of a nihilist, you know what I'm saying? And where he would say, and I revile this conversation, the what do you say, the village atheist, condemning something that he denies the existence of in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And that only can come out of
Somebody with age experience.
somebody with old age and experience, because his world perspective, because here's the thing, I'm watching it and I'm sitting there like, okay, Samuel L. Jackson made a very compelling point here, and that makes sense. And then Tommy Lee Jones rebuts it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense too.
Uh-huh.
And you know, I know a lot of people got into it where they're actually picking sides of who they're going to align with, and I'm sitting there like, they're both making valid critiques and valid points of it. And Tommy Lee Jones' perspective is just as valid as Samuel Jackson's. And it's just like I said, when I said, I was like, ugh. I think for me, I think the age thing did make sense, but from a translation to the book, or translation from the book or stage play, I see where it doesn't make sense.
I mean, and that's all I'm saying. I mean, no, I 100% agree with you.
Yeah,
I just, and again, like I said, I mean, I love Tommy Lee Jones.
yeah,
He's a phenomenal actor. I think he did a phenomenal um job in the play in general. It was absolutely phenomenal. I'm just saying, like, based on what the book was saying, he was just a tad younger, not a lot younger,
gotcha.
just a little bit younger. So I'm not saying that he was like a early Macaulay Culkin type of dude,
I
who
feel you.
just so happened, or Doogie Howser type dude. By no means, he was still older, just not as old as Tommy Lee Jones. Where it's like, bro, you almost out of here in general.
Right. Well, and
Yeah,
then
you almost out of here.
it's kind of like the argument I get into it with
Oh, let me. Sorry.
yeah,
Here,
with
guys. Let me get you guys the. But go ahead, and keep talking, O'Brien.
so like and this is before we get into our topic of the day. I know one of the things I've kind of debated on with comic book nerds is Zack Snyder as a director, and his interpretation of like what was it, Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman and this, that, and the third. And one of the things I've noticed is, and I said this before, Zack Snyder is a really good, he's a very amazing visual director. Like, like he's a visual artist. He's an amazing visual artist. And if he's working with source material that it needs to be a panel for panel translation of a graphic novel or something that's been drawn, he's amazing at that. Where he falls down is when it comes to original stories, because his only frame of reference, like when you talk about his interpretation of Superman or Batman, is the 90s era Superman or 90s era comic books. And in the 90s era comic books, the thing that I call grimdark kind of took over, where every single comic book is bleak and grim, and every single superhero has this dark, depressing, bleak story in the world. Like, and to me, it didn't sit right, because I'm growing up as a kid, a black kid in the 90s. And I mean, I've seen street violence, I've witnessed it, I experienced it. And some of the stuff that they were doing was like cartoonish to me. And that was his frame of reference, where everything's dark and everything's bleak and there's no hope. And so that's where you get a Superman who is supposed to be the beacon of hope across comic books. And that's kind of how they present him.
Right.
The incorruptible beacon of hope. And that's where you get Superman, where everything is colored gray. And it's basically
Okay.
Superman with Batman's origin story. Superman's origin story is depressing and it is sad. It is like it's like he's the last survivor. He's one of the last survivors of his own, of his race, like of his planet. It's already sad.
Mhm.
But Zack Snyder is like, okay, so how can we make this even sadder? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna kill Paul Kent right in front of him. Like, we're gonna like, and it's going to be totally preventable. It's going to be something that he could absolutely solve with no problem, no risk to his identity or anything. But we're just going to kill him in front of him. And then how do we take care of General Zod? You know, Superman's equal villainous part. We're going to have him anguish and then break his neck. You know, all kinds of stuff that doesn't necessarily align with who they've built this character to be over the years. Where back in the day, Superman, like, he would always find ways to reduce harm to public buildings and save people who didn't necessarily want to be saved, or find the way to prevent loss of life when he can. And like I said, Zack Snyder was really good at that. But like I said, he came of age. There's a comic book. There's a white cohort of comic book fans that I recognize from the 90s, where for them, these super gritty, almost cartoonish levels of violence and evil and mayhem stories, where they think that that's reality because they ain't never experienced it in real life.
Okay.
So their view of what gangs do and how drug dealers act is based on this cartoon in their brain, where if you seen it or experience it on any level, it's really not like that. And so, but when you talk to them, it's like, no, I'm realistic. I want the realistic, the grim. Like, well, I mean, if you're looking for a realistic version of Batman, the realistic version of Batman is the rich guy who lives out in the suburbs and comes down to the hood and beats people up. And beats up people who have mental illness. And that's what you're looking for. But if we're talking about the nuanced version of Batman that they're trying to present now, which is, in your mind, which is unrealistic, he's more of a social worker who will put hands on you. Like now, he's more of a social worker who will put hands on you, and not this black and white everything. Where there's nuance to what he does. And it's like, y'all want this super dark version of Batman. That's why they had the big thing about killing all these superheroes in the 90s, bro. Like the death of Superman, we broke Batman's back. You know what I'm saying? Last thing, real quick. Gail Simone, and right now she's a really prolific comic book writer. She got started as a person who was kind of a comic book critic, and she wrote an essay called "Women in Refrigerators." I think it might be an essay or website. It might have been the website, but there was essays about it too. Basically, it's women in refrigerators, and so basically, it's the concept that in comic books during that time frame, women were used as plot devices to make the main character take action. And it came from a story that came from that grim dark 90s era of Green Lantern, where it was the new Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner, and he had this happy relationship with his fiance, and the main villain of his story, this is why it's called Women in Refrigerators. He killed her and stuffed her in the refrigerator for him to find.
Of course.
And so that's where the concept is women in refrigerators. And the essay was basically saying, this is problematic because what happens is you're utilizing violence against women, and then it kind of expanded out to marginalized groups, but you're using violence against women as a plot device, and it doesn't really enhance the story or anything. It's just for shock factor. And so either you're going to kill somebody, you're going to murder somebody, it's going to be some kind of sexual assault thing, or you're going to depower her. And that's going to be, she doesn't exist as a character. She just exists as a mechanism for the main character to be mad about.
Oh, okay.
And so she called that out, and rightfully so. And a lot of nerds got mad at her for it, but like this, like she's calling out something that's real and how y'all objectify people in these comic books. And then you start spinning it out. Like you watch, what was it? Iron Man, Civil War, Captain America and versus Iron Man, Marvel Civil War. What happened to Rhodey? War Machine.
Hey, didn't he get his back broke? Didn't he get killed?
Got his back broken. And all it did was, it was the impetus so that Tony Stark can go be mad. He was already mad, but gave him another axe to grind.
Hmm.
He didn't exist for any other purpose but to be a victim of a recipient of violence to inspire the main character to go take action.
Hmm.
And so that's what the website was. And so Gail Simone has spun that out into a phenomenal comic book career, and she's a phenomenal writer. Um, and a lot of her stuff is kind of uh, um, genre breaking. She's the reason why Harley Quinn has seen outside of Batman the animated series, she's the reason why Harley Quinn has seen this huge resurgence. She kind of recontextualized Bane as a character and King Shark. Like if you've seen any of the Suicide Squad movies, the recent ones, the one that James Gunn did, that's kind of based on how Gail Simone wrote those characters, where it's a black comedy, if that makes sense, where it's a dark comedy. But
Yeah, I
these
mean,
characters,
I think the only one who went off to do anything was Chris and what is that? What is that show on HBO?
oh, Homelander, I mean, no, Peacekeeper.
Peacekeeper.
Well, but she also kind of that humor. So the entire James Gunn universe, the humor that's in those shows and movies is kind of how Gail Simone writes her characters and books.
Hmm.
So it's a really kind of comedy with an edge to it, and it was weaving in political things like, misogyny and racism and all kinds of other stuff into the book.
Did,
And
did
so
you watch Peacekeeper?
I saw season one. I haven't started season two yet. We watched all of
Yeah,
season one.
I watched. It's a very interesting take.
It's a Gail Simone, like I said, it's kind of a Gail Simone season kind of thing. But I'd heard I haven't seen it, but I've heard that season two just kind of collapses once you get towards the end of it, which it is what it is.
I
But
don't know about eh, I mean,
I just have
I
to
don't
watch
know if
it
it
to lay eyes on
collapses. I think it was a very interesting plot in general. Um, but it was still good. It was still fun to watch.
it. Okay. Well, and I love season one just because I thought season one was funny and it was kind of a send up of the entire character of the superhero that kills people. He's a superhero, but he kills people.
Yeah.
And what kind of sociopath you'd have to be. So anyway, but I guess Gail Simone, the entire women in refrigerators thing, it ended up becoming a trope in and of itself. But it was really kind of an interesting take on it. She's a good writer. Now, I don't know how I got on that topic, but let's get into the meat of what we're talking about today.
For sure. Did you put it in our notes?
It's in the notes.
Perfect. No.
Okay. And so today we're not talking about, and let's reiterate, we're talking about the end of expertise and the rise of vibes. And what that means is we are basically shunning, like we've kind of reached this precipice in society where we're shunning expertise. And it's a concept I described a couple of weeks ago where people will believe somebody who just is able to rapid fire bullshit as opposed to somebody who says, I need to look that up. Like they're more trusting in the person that could just spin bullshit on immediately. And so if you got the vibes of somebody who's trustworthy, people are going to trust you. Or you got the vibes of somebody who knows what they're talking about, they're going to lay down their trust for you. And so that's kind of what the take is. And so this is not an anti-expertise episode. This is basically saying this is not a good thing. And so we're talking about it's kind of shifted how we believe people. It's the reason why Dr. Phil can be Dr. Phil without being he doesn't have his license anymore, but we just say, yeah, we'll trust Dr. Phil. Dr. Oz is selling people snake oil because he actually has a medical doctor's license. You know what I'm saying? And so confidence matters more than actual competence. Okay. And we lean towards people that we can relate to. And so you're kind of talking about it off air regarding, politicians or whatnot. And I was saying, I think we've kind of reached this thing where as much as people want to say that they don't believe that, people want to be lied to more or less by their experts. They want their experts to lie to them and give them a reassuring lie as opposed to a truth that it may be hard to swallow. And so you were talking about that with the affordability thing. If you can expand on that.
Yeah, I mean, I was during the election, our president, and again, I consistently say our president because whether you like him or not, he's still our president if you live in the U.S. And our president consistently kept saying that we're going to make things more affordable. We're going to make this affordable. We're going to make that affordable. Groceries affordable. And then he went into, oh, I love the word groceries. It's a old word and blah, 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 blah. But we're going to make that affordable again. Fast forward, everything that's gone up sky high. People can't afford this that anymore, that anymore. And then they're like, hey, man, I thought you were going to make everything affordable. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, why are you talking about affordability? Stop talking about that. Why? Who's talking about that? Like, and then now it's the thing that he doesn't want to hear about affordability anymore.
Right. It's a scam.
Everything's fine the way it is. Matter of fact, what he said was affordability is a Democratic word.
Right.
It's a word that the Dems have basically used to try to take stuff over. And it's like, bro, you're the one who said this.
Yeah.
So it's literally a thing of saying one thing and then placating on people's emotions and their fears and their anger and their hatred and their cult-like fascination for you, and be like, well, yeah, no, I never said that. Yeah. It's just like those people who will interview people and say, hey, did you hear about when Joe Biden did blah, 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 blah? And then you get the people talking like, yeah, he was just horrible, this and the other. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Actually, that was Trump who did that. Sorry. Same question. Trump did this. Sorry. Go ahead. And right then and there, standing right in front of you, will make an excuse or justification of why that was okay. It's like, wow, okay.
It's all based on who ideologically they're aligned with in more cases than not. And so, and I think that's kind of the thing, like the vibes, like people are aligned with the vibes more than anything else. And so from that aspect is, well, when he's talking about affordability, let me ask you a question. When is the last time you think Bro's ever shop for his own groceries?
Well, if you ask him, he'll tell you probably yesterday.
Yeah. But let's be honest. He's been, a millionaire for most of his adult life, or probably his entire adult life, more or less, for actually his entire life. When's the last time he's ever gone out and done his own grocery shopping?
Groceries, I doubt. Wine, I could see him going to go grab some wine.
Yep.
But I could see him doing that. But actually, like grocery shopping, but it's like to make something, no.
Right. And so what would he know about what's affordable?
Well, I mean, I think that he knows about what's affordable based on what somebody told him.
Yeah. Well, and then let's expand it a little bit further. So we've known that the administration has worked hard to prevent a lot of the data collection, the economic data collection that's been happening. They fired the girl that was collecting the data and kind of cutting through it and parsing it. We had the government shutdown, which shut down the official capacity to pull these reports in. And then they hired somebody who is a friend of the administration to run these reports, so the numbers are always favorable. So economic data in terms of groceries and like a lot of the key indicators that they use to judge and determine where the economy status is for consumers, the consumer index. We haven't seen that since like August. And that typically is individual. So the consumer price index is a little bit, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember it correctly, if I remember my economic stuff, the consumer price index is separate from how they use Wall Street to gauge where the economy is, because Wall Street is not a metric of what the economy is doing. And so consumer price index, CPI reports look a little bit different. And then there's another report that's adjacent to the CPI report, which goes a little bit more into real consumer pricing and filters out stuff like gas and things like that, which have kind of a fixed price. And we haven't seen that data. So when we're talking about affordability, we have no way to you could say all the data's BS and whoop-de-woo this and third, but we don't even have a frame of reference to talk about affordability.
Hmm.
And so that's why it's easy to say, oh, it's a boogeyman, it's a fake word or whatever, or however he wants to put it. Because when you shut off the data, it's constantly killing the messenger, essentially, right? Like, I'm going to execute the person that brings me unfavorable information.
Okay.
And that's kind of what we're seeing play out. And since a lot of this is vibes driven, people are like, well, he's right, man. I mean, I know that the price of sugar has gone up through the roof, and sugar, eggs, and butter has kind of gone up substantially. But the guy I voted for, my favorite politician, which is a weird thing to have, is you're weird if you have it, but my favorite politician says it's not a big deal, so it's not a big deal.
Right.
And instead of questioning that and questioning why this person is my favorite politician and why I automatically align with what they say, I'm just going to go along with what they say because I like the vibes they're giving off. And that's what we're talking about. How vibes are actually supplanting factual information and expertise. So,
okay.
Here's the thing. So expertise used to mean you went to training, like you trained or repetition and stuff like that. And I've kind of seen it play out where, and I don't necessarily disagree with this 100%, but or agree. There's a nuance. I feel like there's a nuance argument to be had. But have you noticed how people are all of a sudden college is bad? Like everybody hates college now. Like all these people hate college and higher education and stuff. Like just out of the blue. Like
right.
There's a specific reason for that in my understanding of things, because I think it is kind of based on how they've sold college for a lot of people, where we sell college as something that hasn't existed in almost 50 years. Like used to be, you go to college and whatever you got your degree in is what your job was. That ain't the case anymore.
No.
But that's not a bad thing either.
Right.
My daughter and I were sitting there talking about it, and she's talking about how some of her friends are talking about how art majors are worthless and all this other stuff. And it's like, but I know two 6-figure art majors and one 7-figure art major. And they actually use their degree to reach the status that they're at. They reach some of the knowledge of it, but they did it in their own different ways.
Mm-hmm.
And their degree wasn't a one-for-one translation of what they actually do, but the degree gave them a perspective to kind of forge their own path.
Right. So, I mean, and kind of to kind of piggyback right off of what you're talking about with that, like I decided to throw my hat in and go back to school myself. And the degree that I'm, so the associates, I think I'll just go for psychology and something simple and something I'm already interested in. But the other, my bachelor's will be in philosophy. So the reason why that is, for first and foremost, I think that I think it all depends on your intention what you choose to do with that degree when you get out. If your objective is to go get a job, man, good luck to you. And the reason why I say that is because if you got 40, 50 people in that class, and then there's 1,001 other schools with all these different people who have the same exact degree that you got, dude, good luck. I mean, your competition is gonna be crazy.
Well, and
right? But and for me, I have no intention of getting a job with somebody else. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what I'm gonna do with that degree as soon as I'm done with it.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with working for somebody else. Nothing. So again, I think that it's before They can sell us on, yeah, you'll get a better job, this, that, and the other, blah, blah, blah. But now, man, shit, you better take that degree and go do something different with it.
Uh,
And for me, like, I want to go to school because I really want to learn something that I don't know, that I do not know.
mhm.
Right. And again, I know that college is going to show me, teach me something that I don't know,
Right.
and teach me things that I don't know that I don't know. But teaching is something that I do want to do for sure,
Right.
or whatever. And again, I'm going to get that particular degree because I know what I can do with it based on the skills that I already have now.
Hmm.
So if I can help you now as a life coach, and I've been calling myself a philosopher for years. Now I'm actually going to go in and put the work in to actually do it so I can understand exactly what it's about, so I can go build my own stuff. Like, dude, what? Why would I want to go work for somebody else? Why would you want to work for somebody else if you know what's coming down the shaft for you? Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah, you all right?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Like, okay, so the example. So I came out of high school. When I was coming out of high school, I graduated high school. I had 4 years of AutoCAD. And for the people who don't know what AutoCAD is, that's computer assisted drafting. And more or less, that means I could render entire houses and stuff in 3D. And that was like my I had a portfolio by the time I left high school. Like that could have been my direction. I could have been in any architecture firm and doing all that other stuff, right? My career path was going to college to become a construction engineering major. I had no idea what construction engineering was. I just knew engineering, right? I get in to college, and I had a scholarship and the whole nine. And the first thing I realized within probably about 2 months of being in college was I hate fucking construction. I hate construction engineering. I don't have a brain for it. This is boring to me. I cannot watch another video about Portland cement. I don't care. Um, and flashing and all this other stuff that goes into building houses and buildings, you know. And so I checked out of that immediately. And I ended up getting into journalism. Like that switched my major to journalism with a minor sociology. And then I took a raft of abnormal psychology classes and political science classes. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. Now, at the time, what I was going for was I was working the radio station. I was always in contact with record labels and stuff. My goal was to be a hip hop journalist. Like, that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to interview the movers and shakers in the industry. And again, that was my bigger framework was I wanted to be Russell Simmons, like, before we found out he was a sex offender. And um that was kind of the path I wanted to walk. But I didn't have an illusion that I was going to graduate with the degree and then automatically just fall into the thing. And I think the perception that we've been telling kids is you go to college and get your degree and that's what you work in. And we've known that's bullshit for the last almost 40 years. But I think people have latched onto it and say, well, all college is worthless. Well, it's not worthless. Like,
Yeah, no.
it's not worthless at all. As a hiring,
I don't think so.
as a former hiring manager, um, you know, one of the things is, and I know how some of the people above me thought, they saw having your degree as a proof that you could maintain a commitment and work towards a difficult goal. And so they consider bachelor's one tier, but if you got your master's, that puts you on another tier of people that could focus on a difficult goal and achieve it without a lot of external motivation.
Right.
And that's kind of how they framed it. Way I see it is, it's kind of a means to end. You need a degree to get a lot of jobs. Now they don't specify what the degree is in most of these jobs, but if you want the jobs, you got to go get the degree.
Yep.
But I look at it, put everything backwards first. What do you want to work in? And then you figure out what degree you need to pursue in order to work in that thing. But I literally dropped out of school with like one or two classes left. I had a full 4 years of journalism. Like I could have walked across the stage, but I said I need to work. So I dropped out and said, I need to figure out what I want to do with my life. And part of it was my goal was I was going to do the radio thing. I was going to be a hip hop journalist. I was going to work in the news and stuff. And essentially, my mom and one of her cousins staged intervention on me and said, Brian, you're never going to make any money in radio and you need to let go of this fantasy. Now, here's a couple of things for context. We were one of the first radio stations, college radio stations in the country that was on the internet. You know what internet radio became?
That podcasting.
It became podcasting. We had fans all over the country. And they intervened on me. And I wish I knew then what I know now, where I could have said, yeah, I'm going to walk my own path. But the reality was I was like a 19-year-old kid. And the adults in your life are supposed to mean right by you. And they did. They meant the best for me. They wasn't trying to sabotage me. They're going from their frame of reference as, and this is kind of what it is. I have black folks that grew up during segregation, came of age during segregation. And both of them had experienced not having a degree, how it limited them. My mom had a nursing degree, had her bachelor's in nursing and stuff, and that kind of tied her to one tier. And so she was actually getting her master's so that she could move out of that tier that she was trapped in. My older cousin, he didn't have his degree. I think he had an associate's or whatnot. And he felt like he was trapped where he was. He was doing radiology and stuff. And they, in their best, they thought that they were saving me from a life of uncertainty and not making any money. And what that put me on the path was it put me on the path towards entrepreneurship, which is a path of uncertainty where, sometimes you don't always have enough money. That's the path they put me onto. But had I not listened to them, I probably would have been working. I probably would have my own like national podcast or whatnot. That would have been my thing. Because we already had a job offer. The reason why they stepped in was because we actually had a job offer on the coast to do drive time. And so my goal, I told them, like, I'm dropping out of school and we're going to go out to the coast and take this job offer. And then once we get established, once I get established, I'm going to go re-enter and finish out my degree.
Gotcha.
And that's what freaked them out. And they're like, you got to let go of it. Nobody makes money in radio and stuff. But they didn't have any frame of reference to understand. And so when we tell kids, well, this art degree is meaningless, well, who do you think designs this water bottle? Who designed this?
Right.
Who designed this? An art major did. Packaging, art major. Set design for movies, television shows. These are things that people get paid a lot for. I met with the dude a couple years ago who had his art major, and so he makes Paul, he makes like he's done costumes and stuff for Hollywood, like costumes and props and stuff, prop design and stuff for major Hollywood movies. From an art background.
Yeah, the dude who does Afro Omaha.
Yeah.
Foley. He has. I think he's an art. Yeah, he's art something too.
Right.
Yeah, he has an art background too, because when we worked together, he was still in school, and that's what he was working on all the time. He was telling me about the shapes and the colors and all kind of stuff. He wanted to make me a logo and stuff. I was kind of cool on that. He and a group of friends created this drink called Makasi, and it's like this African drink, energy drink. Here's the thing: I'm not a fan of energy drinks, but that one was amazing.
Okay,
amazing. I don't know what they did. I think they sold it or whatever, but man, it was amazing. Oh gosh, but they were having a hard time trying to break through here to get things going or whatever. So I don't know what they did with it, but it was a great product.
Well, So, and the thing I'm pointing at is because people will say philosophy or art's a useless major. Do you know that like it's almost disproportionate about a billionaires that had philosophy majors that graduated with philosophy majors. Like,
Man, my guy, no, that's why I want to do that. And the reason is because there's not, first and foremost, it's one of those fields that like I think philosophy for me, I can't speak on other ones.
mhm,
It's one of those fields where you make your own.
right,
Um, you create your own road, you create your own path, you create your own journey or whatever. And as philosophers, like, dude, we don't need a lot. Like we're cool. Again, I got my pen, my pad, and a book. Fuck else do I need?
right,
Yeah, the only reason why I have all the other stuff that I got is because I have a child. If I my I'm just telling you, dude. Like I'm cool. And I used to think that, man, like there was something wrong with me being so disassociated from people, which there it kind of still is, or whatever. The jury's still out on that. Um, but that's just one of the things that I love. And like, and I heard this guy from Ghana. He was
mhm,
saying that he said I think that people have it wrong about college. He said you want to look outside your door, and he said you want to look for problems.
mhm,
Okay, and he said you want to ask yourself, what problems do I see? Number one, is there anything that I already love to do that I can help solve these problems? And once you figure that out, that's what you go to school for. And then when you get out of school, that's what you go do.
right,
So you observe the problems that you see, get the education or whatever you need to know in order to change it, get out and change it. So I see some problems, a lot of problems, but a persistent problem that I believe that philosophy can change. And it's not just philosophy that can change that, it's the philosopher who can help change some of these things or whatever. Or like Tupac said, create the spark that will change everything else.
right,
And that's what I'm into. I love that. So, I mean, even above me, I mean, are my books of Alan Watts, the Bible, philosophical books, Reasons Not to Worry, Jeet Kune Do type stuff, Epic of Gilgamesh. I mean, so everything is either philosophy or religion or theology of some kind right above me. Like, dude, like, come on, man, are you playing? A friend of mine, we were talking about books,
mhm,
and I have this book here. It's called Decolonizing Therapy, and so we have this, and I'm just kind of like, all right, cool. We'll do that and kind of read up on that, and then kind of go from there. And but the book is basically about how therapy is it's colonized as well,
okay,
or whatever, right? Um, so like, yeah, it's just kind of one of those things. But and it's how do you help a person where your field has colonized this particular genre of help,
right,
right? So I mean, it's almost like with philosophy, majority of us look at philosophers as these old white guys.
right,
But if you actually do your research and really look into it, the first university comes out of Africa. And college, as we know today, college studies a subject at a time. That's the reason why one school studies certain subjects, another school study other subjects. But a university, the way it was supposed to be in Africa, the Library of Alexander wasn't just a library; it was one of the first universities, and the university studied everything in the universe. And I want to say that again. It studied the universe. So they didn't just have one or two classes or things to talk about or fields. They
Right.
had all fields of everything. So I, again, I'm a guy who I love reading. I love that type of stuff. I love understanding those type of things, and I love perspective and reframing, and that's literally all philosophy is. It's just looking at things from different standpoints, and that's it. And I love that, especially being able to talk to another person and ask them where they are in life and how they think that maybe by either doing something they can get from point A to point B, or by not doing something, you stay exactly where you are. But eventually, when you get to that point, if you didn't even move and did nothing in general. So
Okay.
it's just more or less about questioning. And I think that the reason why we are where we are is because, like I told you before, we don't ask enough questions. And here's the sad thing: education is one of those things that brings the questions, the answers out of you.
Right.
So if you're that's literally the definition of the word education is to extract to extract it, to extrapolate from you. So I'll ask you the question, but the answer is already in you. So let me try to bring it out of you, and that's literally all it is. Um, and so it's an education, not an indoctrination. Indoctrination is when I tell you what you need to know, and then that's it. But an education means it makes you have to ask questions, right?
Right.
And it makes you have to, makes you have to. And the fact of the matter is that once you stop asking questions, you start doing what you're told because there's no reason to ask any questions because your authoritarian figures already know.
Hmm.
So why do you need to ask? In the military, you don't get to ask questions. You do what you're fucking told.
Right.
That's it. There is no question asking. As opposed, as opposed to doing what I tell you to do. Now you can ask me, "Hey, how do I do this?" That's one thing. But asking me, "Why am I doing this?" You don't get to ask that question.
Well, one of the biggest incident, like it was something that was really eye opening to me. This was my days working at Boys Town. Um, one of the things I had was one of the leaders, the heads of the institution, basically more or less said, we don't need smart people. We need people to do what they're told.
That's it.
And that was kind of a like it was more or less him letting me know like I don't really care what you have to say about
Yeah.
this thing.
And I also don't care about your degrees either.
Yeah. I just need you to do what I'm telling you to do. And that was kind of a point of consternation for me because I'm like, well, I mean, the reality is though, bro, um, I mean, you guys are wrong. And they were wrong. It was something they were wrong about. And it's something I had insider knowledge on that they didn't really want to listen to. But his perspective was, I don't need your knowledge. I just need you to do what I told you to do. And so it was kind of it was eye-opening thing because I actually thought in my mind, I had it in my brain that everything like it was super important that I was the smartest guy in the room. And for them, he didn't give a shit. He just wanted me to do what they wanted me to do, whether I agreed with it or not. And so you do run into that. And unfortunately, sometimes that assumption of knowledge can absolutely be, a downfall. But it is what it is. But I know what you mean, where you have some person in an authority position, basically saying, "I'm not paying you to think. I'm paying you to do."
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, yeah, because if I would have paid you to think, you'd have my job.
Right.
I don't want you to think. Oh, I need you to do.
Do the thing I tell you to do.
That's it. You don't need to think about nothing. Do what I told you to. I mean, that's the thing that's always bothered me about people. Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Right.
Like, do what you're told. And again, if you don't want to do that, go start your own thing. Ain't nobody ain't nobody asking you to step up to the plate and go build. No, no one's asking you to just shut your mouth.
Right.
Get back to work. I mean, and again, I'm saying that to be jokingly, but also being serious. Because again, if you don't want to work, if you don't want to be asking people questions, if you don't want to do this, if you don't want to do what you tell, go build your own stuff. Nobody tells you that you can't. Again, I'm choosing to go to school uh, in general for me
Right.
because I want to keep my mouth shut. I want to listen and I want to ask a bunch of questions because that's the place to do it at. Right now, once I'm done and we get out here and we get to working, boy, I have nothing but fun. I want to have some fun with this or whatever. So again, but I'm 46 years old and deciding now to go back to school. And here's the crazy thing: I think that I would tell a child at 19, no, don't. I wouldn't go to school right now. I would go live, get a passport, and get your ass out of this country. Go
Right.
move around a bit. Go travel. Go love. Go fuck up. Go find you. Cause college will be here when you get back.
Go experience life.
Go experience life and then come back and say, all right, what do you want to do? Man, I want to get into philosophy. You know what I'm saying? Or I want to go into banking. Or I want to be a chef. Oh my God. I was in Italy and I saw what they were doing. You see what I'm saying? Go live and then decide what you want to do. My son is 13 years old. He's been telling me since he was 11 that he wants to go to school to become a therapist. Cool.
Right.
You know, they're like, I'm like, I ain't never heard a kid say that before, but I will do whatever I can to help you, son.
So you said it's therapist?
My son wants to be a therapist.
My daughter said the same thing. That's what
Like,
she wants to do.
like, yeah, I mean, but again, he's been telling me that since he was 11.
Yep.
I'm
She,
like, that's what's up.
when she first started, she said she wants to be a doctor who uses art to help kids, to help kids with mental health problems. That's what she started out when she was like 5. And that
Yeah.
was kind of her fixation. And so it's kind of manifested in a therapist. And it's like, all right, go for what you know, dear. We'll support you regardless of what you want to do. But I think you're right in terms of go out and get some experience. I also do think that there are specific kids that are driven to that can go straight from high school to college, and it's fine
Yes.
for them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And for those kids, wonderful.
Right.
Great. Go. Again, I know for me, if I would have went to school in 98, bro, that wouldn't have been good for me. If I would have went to school in 99, that would not have been good for me. If I went to school in 2000, that wouldn't have been good for me. Unfortunately, I had to wait to almost 30 years to decide to go back to school. But you would think by talking to me, by knowing me, that I have already had all kinds of degrees. I'm like, no, I just got a bunch of certifications, but no degrees. And the thing is that I want to teach. I want to learn as much as I possibly can. So
Hmm.
college, I want to learn, man. I love learning. Love to learn. So why not go to school? Why not
And,
let go? You
and I
know?
think I think that's where we're going, bro. And I think what's happened is people reduce college as a transaction, like they view it as another transaction. I do this to get this in the future, and it's like it's not necessarily what higher education's for. Sometimes you learn for the sake of learning and to expand your brain.
And I
Again,
love, and I mean, shit, look behind me, bro. Like,
right.
what's like what? Like, I have a whole library in my house,
Well,
literally.
and I think what we're kind of running into collectively as a society is we have more information at our fingertips than we've ever had, ever.
Yes.
And as a result of that thing, um, we are also less knowledgeable than we've ever been before.
Mm-hmm.
Because what that does is when you have this infinite amount of knowledge at your fingertips, like you got your phone, you have you have a repository of every single piece of information that's ever been written somewhere. What happens is you get people that mistake familiarity with a topic with expertise. And they think because they are able to Google something or watch a video about something on the internet that they are standing on the same foothold as people that have been studying and researching said thing for decades and decades, just because you have the ability to consume their work. And what happens is it goes into like what the news does, wherein the news reports medical advances and stuff. They're not reporting medical advances. They're not even reporting findings or anything. They're reporting preliminary things that may be true, but they say them as a definitive thing because they know that most people don't parse research data like that, because you have to have a special level of education to parse research data. I was
Yeah.
watching I was watching this thing. It was on Twitter. And of course all the worst shit in the world happens on Twitter. But some guy, this white guy made this YouTube channel, and basically he was going through Dr. Umar Johnson's thesis, his graduate thesis, and trying to deconstruct it. So Mark Lamont Hill jumps on there and basically asks the guy, what qualifications do you have to debunk his thesis? And the guy's like, well, I don't need qualifications. He's like, are you familiar with the thesis process? Like, I'm not talking about the factual information in his thesis. I'm talking about how the thesis is constructed from a structural
Mm.
standpoint.
Okay.
And he's like, you don't have that knowledge because you've never done it before. He's like, I've done this before. I have a doctorate. I've sat on the committees. I know how this entire process actually works. And so while you may be able to debunk factual stuff on there, what you're doing is you're doing a structural critique on his graduate thesis, and you have no foothold to stand on.
Right.
And this guy was trying to fight a doctorate level person who's been through this process multiple times, who sat on multiple committees. He's trying to fight this guy to the ground about this. And he's like, you don't have any knowledge. Like, he's like, I'm not talking about factual basis or what you can find to disprove or debunk what was actually said in the thesis, like the factual stuff that was in there. You're trying to critique the structure of it. And I'm telling you, you don't have the depth of experience. If you've never been through the process, you don't know what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we could debate the factual basis of it all day, but that's not what we're talking about. And it came to a point where it's like, he doesn't even know that he doesn't know what he's talking about.
Right.
He doesn't even have the knowledge to understand the baseline of what you're talking up here. His understanding of it's down here, but he thinks his understanding of it is up here.
Okay.
And so that's what he's, and that's kind of that thing. You're familiar with the concept of what a graduate thesis is, and you're familiar with the precepts of how research works, but you don't even have the understanding of having gone through the process yourself.
Gotcha.
To understand the structural side of it and what that's supposed to look like. So,
you know what?
It might have been. I think it was actually his dissertation. I think that's what he was taking issue with. But
okay.
He's like, you've never been in the room to understand how these things are constructed. So the things you're critiquing are structural things, not factual basis. And so, and that comes from familiarity with the concept. It's like watching a YouTube video and deciding you're going to give yourself brain surgery.
You know what's so funny is that we were talking about Liberty Twitcher before, and you made that one comment, and you said, "Is this an opinion piece or is this a fact piece?" And I was like, "Okay, I didn't know what that meant," and you explained it. I was just having a conversation with somebody. Man, I cannot remember what we were discussing. but he said I had read in some magazine, blah 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 blah. He was going on and on about this thing, which kind of felt a bit far fetched to me.
Mhm.
And the first question I asked him was, I said, "Was this an opinion piece or a fact piece?" He said, "Oh, hold on. What do you mean?" I said, "Well, in majority of these publications, if it's just an opinion piece, they're gonna have a whole bunch of stuff in there, okay? But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's a fact piece where there's sightings. They can go back and this is where they got their information. They got it from here, there, and blah 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 blah. Is this a sight piece or is this an opinion piece?" And he was like, "Wow, you know what? I don't know." So I said, "It sounds like an opinion piece. Not gonna lie to you,
Mhm.
or whatever." But again, I don't know. Neither do you. But I wouldn't walk around saying it as if it were a fact, though. Especially if you don't have all of the, you know, what I'm saying, the written information. And again, when you said that to me, that stuck with me on everything now that I look at. On, you
Okay.
know what I'm saying, on everything. And now when I'm talking to people, is this an opinion or is it a fact? I mean, where did you get this information from?
Yeah.
How did you obtain it? You read it from where? Okay, usually, right on top of it, of whatever the title is, it'll tell you whether it's an opinion piece or whatever. It usually tells you somewhere in there. And he was like, I don't know. I said, okay, well, I'm just saying, you might want to know that before you go around telling people this information. And I'm like, I just learned this myself. So it's not like I'm telling you something because I'm better than you or nothing. I'm not. This is what I learned. So, you know what I'm saying? So, like
Right.
now, when I read something, that's the first thing that I'm looking at on top of any paper now that I read. Is it an opinion piece? Where you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, again, for me, that's what I do.
And I think that I'm glad that I could help you out with that. Like, I'm glad that you're kind of seeing it like that, because I think that's a tripping point, because they're actually trying, a lot of these newspapers, there's an agenda with some of these corporate newspapers where they're actually trying to either shape how the opinion section are used or mask the editorial section to make it seem like these are factual stories and not just
Hmm,
opinion, just not long-winded opinion pieces written by journalists. You
gotcha.
know, journalists are allowed to editorialize, but you're supposed to document whether this is editorial, right? And we've kind of seen that falling down, especially with, the rise of entire news organizations, which are all editorial. Like, you know what I'm
Okay.
saying? MSNBC and Fox News kind of stand out, where the majority of their content is actually editorializing, which there's nothing wrong with it. You want a journalist to editorialize if they have a specific subsect of knowledge on a topic, you know, but when you don't delineate whether this is an editorial versus whether it's something that is factual, or you're not saying that it is, you're not labeling it as such. That's where the problem comes in.
Hmm,
And that's where people will take new sound bites from arguments that somebody's making. That's why there's really little value in those shows. Like, there's really little value in news shows where it's just a panel of people arguing about things. There's no real actual value in that, because the people that do the facts and have the facts are typically shouted down by the people that are just making up shit, because the people that are making up shit have no moral anchor to make
right.
sure that what they're saying is accurate. They're just trying to win an argument. Whereas the people on there, they're trying to establish a factual basis. They have a moral argument, and so there's certain things that they will not do to defend themselves, because they're maintaining this morality. That's why those shows are useless. And anymore, most of the stuff most of the stuff I see from like CNN is the same panel show with Abby, whatever her name is, that sister. She runs the show, and it's just a bunch of people yelling at each other. And I turn on, and they got the lady from Biggest Loser on there, talking about how slavery is overblown, how we overplay slavery. Like she's talking about it, like a factual basis. Like slavery is we make it a bigger deal than it actually was. Okay,
Of course. I
so
mean, you know what though? I mean, just
she's
like
entitled to her opinion.
and just like the Jews making it a bigger deal that the whole the concentration camps weren't that bad, and you guys would be okay.
Yeah, and that's basically what
That
she's
part.
saying. And so she's up there saying it, and you're sitting there listening to her. I'm like, this is a lady from The Biggest Loser. Why is she even talking about this? What knowledge does she have?
Hmm.
And well, why are you talking about this? Well, I have a black daughter. You have a black child, and you're telling on here telling black folks that slavery was overblown, and you gave this percentage that you saw you heard a percentage from some white nationalists on Twitter, and you're utilizing that as your factual basis and saying it as a fact on a television show.
Hmm.
And I saw somebody confront her on it, and she didn't like it when they confronted and said, okay, well, the statistic you actually used was when you said only a certain percentage of people were slaveholders. Well, what you're doing is you're actually factoring everybody in the North. You're counting them in the
Yeah,
number,
you
and
can't do.
you're also counting the enslaved people themselves in the number. So it changes what the percentage looks like. So if we just reduce it down to slave states and factor out slaves, then the percentage is somewhere like 30 or 40% as opposed to 2 or 3, like you were saying.
Hmm.
Why are you saying stuff like this? Because
Right.
you have no factual basis to prove what you just said, but you said it as a 10 toes down fact.
Hmm.
And that's the stuff we're talking about.
Right. I mean, just like a homegirl. Just what is it that we're 14 or 15% of the population, but yet instead people said that we're like 50% of the jail, the population of the jail, and
Yeah.
it's not. It's actually 36%, which is still an abomination of a number in general or whatever. And so, and again, the most people that are in there are Caucasian
Mm-hmm.
men, and then second comes us, and then Hispanics or whatever, then so on and so forth. But again, half is huge,
Mm-hmm.
but 36% is so big too. But again, it's not as bad as it would be half.
Right.
So again, if you're making it seem like half of the people, and again, you're also talking about a small population. Yeah, you might be talking about we are 15%, but you're also talking about what 3-4% of not even 3 or 4%. This is just a few individuals
Right.
that consistently keep going to jail. This isn't people that this isn't half the population in jail.
Mm-hmm.
This is we are 15% of the overall population here. Here, 30 36% of us are in jail, but it's not 36% of us. It's 36% of people who get in trouble are there. That
Right.
that percentage is different.
Well, and then the 13%, the 13% thing that they throw around too. And you've said it and everybody else has said it, but we're emphasizing when they do the 1350 or whatever, um, the 13% of the population, but blah, blah, blah amount of the arrest. We're only talking about arrests. You can get arrested and never be charged with anything. And so what happens is a lot of times
Correct.
in communities where police are overrepresented, you're going to have a high arrest number, but then you're going to have a high number of exonerations because people can get arrested just because an officer is bored. You can get
Right, but
arrested.
I'm not talking about arrests.
Yeah,
I'm talking about just prison.
prison. Okay.
That's all I'm talking about, just prison. I'm not talking about arrests or whatever. But again, though, that number comparative to even if it was just 15%, cool, whatever. That number is still usable. It's a small number compared to everybody as a whole.
Right.
And the number that you're talking about are people that are consistently in jail constantly. But we're also not talking about, we're also the most exonerated as well. Or
Well,
whatever, which means if they quick to just throw us in jail just so they ain't got to deal with it or whatever, or they can deal with it. So, so not just that part, but then you also have to look at the individuals who are writing some of these, uh, who are writing the laws that throw these individuals in jail, but yet instead, these same individuals who write the laws are creating or producing or breaking so many of the same laws that they themselves have signed on for.
Yeah.
Yet said they don't go to jail. If we were really talking about what works and what doesn't, let's put it out there. If you kill somebody, I don't you you should be in jail, like off top. But again, if we looked at what the real criminals were in this country, there are people who work in the banking system, there are people who work in Wall Street, there are politicians. And Yen said out of 500 and some odd politicians, how is it that only one or two ever go to jail for the monstrosity that they create in our country? I
Well,
mean, we have a convicted felon as president, and you don't think that this isn't setting a precedent for everything for all the bullshit to come?
well, differential reinforcement, because here's the thing. So you have differential, not reinforcement, differential enforcement, right? Like, you know, and there's corollaries between if your parents know the judge, then chances are when if you've
Yeah,
done
nepotism and all that shit.
if you don't run
I
over
get.
if you run over somebody due to your reckless driving, if you run over somebody due to your reckless driving, there's a good chance that you're not going to go to jail. Why is the system like that? Why is it built like that? We just had a case where this kid was a actual sex predator down in Oklahoma, and he had done some horrific things that he should be in jail for, and the judge cut him leniency and put him on probation, right? How does that happen? And would it have happened if his parents weren't involved in the legal system or weren't high profile? I think his dad was like an AD of some university or something, where they had that kind of name behind them. And so there's a differential enforcement of it. But when we start looking at the factual basis, whenever we start parsing numbers, you're taking advantage of the fact that human beings in general, have a very difficult time processing numbers. And we also have a very difficult time processing very, very large numbers. And so, especially when we start getting into percentages of large numbers, our brains don't comprehend much. Like read somewhere, a human brain, we don't really comprehend anything that's more than like five figures. Like it's hard for the human brain to mentally comprehend 10,000 of
10,000
anything.
what?
10,000 of anything. It's
What do you
hard
mean?
for us. So human brain doesn't really comprehend large numbers. And so when we start getting into
Yeah.
percentages of large numbers, we barely comprehend large numbers. We have a hard time comprehending percentages. So when you start percentages of non-numbers, now we're two generations deep in human brain not processing it. And so I get like whenever somebody throws out a number like, well, 85%, you got to think like maybe like 85% of people, like, do you know what how big of a number 85% of human beings is?
I mean, that's you're still in the billions.
Yeah. Like, can you
Yeah,
even,
it's like
can,
almost 8 billion people right now. So 85% of, god damn,
can
yeah,
you
that's
even,
a lot of people.
can you even conceptualize what that looks like?
Yeah,
And so a lot of times people just throw out these arbitrary percentages like,
yeah.
man, you got to say that 80% of men are going to do. You don't know what 80% of men even looks like in your mind's eye. You can't even imagine what that number even looks like, how many men that actually is. And you're saying 85% of them perform in a certain way that you imagine in your brain without any proof, any evidence or anything. So we don't understand percentages as it stands, and we don't understand large numbers. And so when we start talking statistical data, people have no idea what they're talking about, and they have no idea what they're looking at when somebody starts throwing statistics around.
The
So
right, kind of like with the millions, billions, and trillions. If you looked at it as in seconds, like a million seconds is like 12 days. a billion seconds is like 31 years, 32 years.
Mhm.
But then a trillion seconds, right? So from a million to a billion, you're talking about years. Like, I mean, 30 some years, right?
Mhm.
But from a billion to a trillion, you're talking about 31 years to 36,000 years.
Right.
36,000. So again, if you're talking about that from a monetary standpoint, I mean, I want you to think about that. We are, what is it? What's our debt percentage now?
I
It
don't
was
know.
like 20.
Yeah.
Is it 20? It's 20 something now. So 20. So we're $20 trillion in debt. 20 trillion. Let's just say 20 trillion. You will never pay that. And I saw these aliens, and they were making a joke. They said, "Did you know that they owe somebody like trillions of dollars?" And the other alien was like, "How would you? Who do? How do you owe somebody so much money on some stuff that you created?
Mhm.
Like you created the money, you created the system. Just shut it down and recreate another one."
Right.
It's like you know what I'm saying? But again, we're like, no, we can't do that. Yes, you can. If you created this system, you can shut this one down and just start the fuck over.
Well, and
I
let's go.
mean, it's possible because if an asteroid were to hit us, you want to know what happens to the dollar?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter what happens to it because nobody's going to use it again.
So this concept goes
Good
into this.
gosh.
When I talk about the human brain can conceptualize it, follow my thinking on this. Like, imagine I showed you a picture of 10,000 of a thing, like maybe 10,000 blades of grass, right? And then I showed you a picture of 20,000 and 50,000, and then a half a million, and then a million. And I never gave you any of the numbers. I just said, give me an estimate. This is a round number. Estimate how many blades of grass are in this picture.
Well, I mean, but what would the comparison be?
Just the other pictures. I want you to estimate how many. I'll give you no
I'm
number.
not looking at them like side by side, or I'm not
Not
just
looking at them side by
looking-
side. Just looking
I'm
at it.
just looking at them individually.
Yeah.
And I mean, you wouldn't know.
You can't conceptualize.
You couldn't concept without the comparison. You wouldn't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to tell that. Even if you were to have one that says this one over here is 20,000, this one over here is 22,000. If they're all bunched together, you're not going to know the difference.
You could put the pictures side by side with no numbers, and you still wouldn't have any guess. You would still wouldn't have any frame of reference to understand how many. Like, so when we talk about, people can't even conceptualize 10,000. We have a hard time imagining what 1,000 of something looks like. I've been to a football game. There's 90,000 people there. Trying to imagine that number of people in one place, even while you're sitting in the midst of it, is hard to wrap your mind around. But we're expected to understand what a million or a billion or a trillion looks like. How astronomically large $1 trillion is. We got $1 trillion companies right now. Nvidia, I think, is $1 trillion company right now. Can you even imagine what kind of wealth that is? Yeah. That is that's a reality warping level of wealth, where you can rewrite your reality. Like, if you have just a fraction of that money, you can rewrite your reality and the reality of everybody that you know.
Oh my God, dude. Do you realize what I'm doing with I mean, even 1% of a trillion, which is what? What is 1% of a trillion? That's a bill. Isn't that a billion?
I think it's $1 billion.
A billion. Boy, stop.
And that's what I'm saying.
Like, did you realize the shenanigans I would get into?
Right. It would just be, it's a reality warping level. And so what happens is when people have that, when they cross that threshold, there's a specific threshold of money that people cross where reality, the rules that we exist in, do not exist for them.
Yeah, no, no,
And the standards of
no.
living and
Dude,
the social rules.
everywhere I go, I would go on horse and buggy
Yeah.
just to piss other people off. Like, that's the type of shit that you do when you are a trillionaire. Like, horse and buggy,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, listen, if you got somewhere to be, you ain't gonna get there. Not when I'm on the road.
$1 trillion is enough. Like if you had $1 trillion, you could take 1 or 2% of that and probably buy half of the vehicles in your city.
Okay, if you had what?
Like $1 billion, right? Like a
Okay.
percentage of a trillion. You would have enough money to physically buy a fleet of vehicles that rivals a large city.
Right.
Like people don't
Oh
understand
man,
how
dude.
much money this stuff is. And so when we start talking about percentages on that level, most people don't get it. They don't understand it. And so what's that?
Oh, sorry, dude.
Sorry, it was making the mic clip.
Oh, sorry about that.
So anyway, well, back to the topic, but it is kind of a thing. When we start talking about expertise, the way that they frame expertise in a lot of these circles is they frame somebody's expertise as they're trying to be an elitist. They're a snob, academic snob, you know, the effete academic snob who has no real world application. If you have credentials to have if you have enough credentials to have an opinion about something, they treat it like it's a bias. And being uncertain or saying, hey, I need to look that up, they read that as weakness. And so that's kind of the trap that we start falling into when, when we go with the vibe world as opposed to expert world. Okay. So experts speak carefully. People who are influencers speak confidently.
Rewind that. Say that one more time.
Experts speak carefully. Influencers speak confidently. And that's the difference. Just because you say something in a confident manner, a self-assured manner, or somebody says something to you in a self-assured manner, does not mean that they are an expert. And oftentimes that is the trap. That's the silo that people fall into on the internet. YouTube is the example of this. I'm in the business space on YouTube. There are so many people on the business side of YouTube that have never run a business, have no concept of what they're talking about. But they will tell you what kind of business that you need to be running. They'll tell you, man, you really need to get into drop shipping, man. A couple years ago it was it wasn't locally here. We didn't see it locally. It was more it was in larger cities, right? The car rental thing where you become your own car rental agency, right? Have you heard of that? Where it's
No, I
app
have not. Go ahead. What is it?
it's an app that allows you to rent out your car to pass to people who want to rent your car. And so people are running out and taking out all these investments and all these
Oh my God, you talking about like Turo?
yeah. They're running out and getting all these loans so that they can rent their car, so they can rent out their fleet of cars. And when you found out exactly why for car rental places, why cars are just inventory, because they know that they're going to get destroyed and stolen. You don't have the capacity to eat somebody stealing your $20,000 car
Nope.
that the bank just paid for, that they signed off on loan for. Specifically, banks won't give you a loan to buy more than one car. Like they won't give you a loan to buy a fleet of cars unless you have some kind of business model or something established and a license, like a dealer's license to do that shit. And people are going out there and getting this money and leasing these cars, and then the cars were getting stolen, they're getting destroyed. They had all this overhead for repairs and stuff. People were like trying to resell their cars.
Right.
And
Mhm.
people lost their shirts on this thing. But you had influencers online, people online who had never done this shit before, telling people that this is the business they need to get into. And I don't have it in me to, even if I'm releasing a car and I have no intention to drive in that car, I don't have it in me to have somebody wreck the car, tear the car up, tear the interior of the car up, and me not fight them when they bring it back to me. Like
Mhm.
I can't be disassociated with something I spent that much money on. But people were jumping into this, and influencers. There's a lot of people who got into trucking based on that shit, and they saw some influencer on there talking about, yeah, man, trucking is easy, bro. And then you see these other truckers come like, are you out of your mind? Stop telling these people this is easy, man. It's not easy money. None of this stuff is easy money. I've done drop shipping. I've done reselling. The amount of influencers that sit up there and talk about how easy this shit is have never done it a day in their life. If you've ever been out to a thrift store or a garage sale or even a storage auction and actually hauled shit from there, there's nothing easy about that money. And you spend the majority of your time sourcing inventory and pricing inventory and packing inventory. It ends up taking over your entire life. There's nothing passive about that income, but people get online and tell you it. And another one talking about you could flip websites. Yes, you can flip websites. You can make money doing it. There's nothing easy about it. It's time consuming. The reason why so many people fell under the sway of this stuff was because the influencer said it confidently.
Mm.
Yeah, you could be a trucker. Shoot. And this is how you do it. And their manual on how to do it was they went and Googled something and copied it into a document and said, this is how, and made it into a script and said, this is how you do the thing. So,
Yeah, the funny enough, so do you know how poetic Flacco is?
uh-uh.
He's one of the guys off of No Jumper.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so now you know what that show is. So Adam 22. Poetic Flacco is on there as well. And Poetic Flacco kind of does his own thing now. Uh, I think he's still with No Jumper, but he produces a lot of his own stuff. And he puts out a lot of content, like a lot. So he was telling people like, hey, I also have this generator where I'm doing, I'm teaching people how to make $10,000 a month. Just creating, producing content or whatever. Go over to my page, my go to my LinkedIn or whatever,
Uh-huh.
a profile, whatever, and schedule a time with me, and we can set that up, right? So I don't like to think, I like to know. So I went in and I looked at his stuff, and he charges $500 per hour for him to teach you this and the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least for the consultation type stuff, or whatever. Now, for him to work with you directly is, I'm sure it's a little bit more than that. But I was kind of thinking about that, and I was like, that makes sense. But if you were just you, and I didn't know who you were, would I consider paying you $500 if you were a no name,
Mm-hmm.
right? But because you've been on No Jumper for so, what I'm saying, for so long, of course people are going to pay you because they know exactly who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So again, that's that whole influencer type thing, or whatever. Now, what I would be doing if I were doing something like that is, if I had somebody making $10,000 a month, I'd have them on all the time. Like, all right, hey, what are you doing? Please tell the other people what you're doing right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for again, that's just me though. I mean, if I'm gonna charge you that 500, which is whatever, um, whoever's making that 10,000, but I want you to come on to my show, tell everybody what you're doing, how's it going, this and the other, how have I helped you, type stuff. You know what I mean? Like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would be doing. That's just me personally. But I see what you mean though, because it makes it seem like, oh, anybody could do this. I
Right.
don't think
If you
anybody
want to know
can.
what that And people always joke about the Simpsons tell the future and everything. Simpsons kind of clocked this with the influencer culture. Um, you remember, I don't know if you were a big Simpsons fan, but the Troy McClure character. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might know me from, and then he'll say something. And typically it's him pitching something where he's utilizing his fake authority to sell a thing to somebody. And people are associating with the fact that they know who he is with the fact that um they are like he's reputable, right?
Okay.
And, and that's what's happening a lot. He's oh boy is trading on the fact that he is the one of the content guys behind No Jumper, and he's selling the idea that it's just easy, everybody can jump on there and make 10,000. Well, the reality is, yeah, people can jump on, you can make $10,000 a month creating content. It takes a while to build your audience. It takes research to build your audience. It takes practice. Like there's an entire layer and process that you have to get to in order to reach that threshold. And some people do it a lot faster than others. But sometimes it's not going to be anything that you even care about. There are people that have built massive followings on Instagram on niches that they don't even give a shit about. It just was a profitable niche for them. You know, or theme pages on Instagram where it's like R&B, R&B lovers theme page where they just post R&B songs and videos and stuff. Yeah, you can make a lot of money with that. You can monetize the hell out of it. But it may or may not be something you care about. And so there's a blueprint to do it. But I think people it always gets sold as ease, right? They sell it as the ease. Why aren't you doing this already? That's why everybody on Facebook has content creator in their bio. Like they have the content creator profile or whatever. That's just basically what it is. And so um, these people get on there and lie to you and tell you it's easier than this, that, and the third. And the people that are saying, nah, man, it's really not. Those are the people that nobody watches. Don't nobody want to watch somebody come on there and tell you, hey, man, this shit is hard, bro. I'm just here to tell you that it ain't that easy. Nobody want to see that. And so the conversation, a friend of mine were having this morning, we're sitting there like, people want to be lied to. And I'm not saying that as that's a good thing. I'm saying it as people tend to want to be lied to.
Right.
They want unprovable shit, unverifiable shit that sounds good. They don't want bitter, hard to swallow truths about anything. They don't want the honest, real, how this thing actually works, and the fact that if you want this, you're going to have to bust your ass for it and obsess about it. And you have to have a very specific type of personality to sell that. This is a grind and it sucks. The one I pulled up an old video of CT Fletcher. And CT Fletcher is a workout guy.
I know exactly who he is.
Yeah, workout guy, big, strong, jack guy. He is a power lifter. He's done strongman stuff. He's done bodybuilding stuff. And very few people have that ability to sell the concept of hard work like CT Fletcher. Most people, when they try to sell, yeah, this is going to be hard and it's going to suck and it's not going to be fun. Most people, their audience will say, you know what? Show me the guy that's going to tell me how easy this is all going to be. I don't want to see that shit. CT Fletcher can make doing hard things sound like it's enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? The entire concept of his magnificent obsession, where he said he wanted to have the biggest biceps in Crenshaw. And he's like, you have to be obsessed. He's like, and he's laying it down. He's like, every day I train biceps. They say, don't train, you overtrain, and I don't care about you overtraining, mother. I was in there, birthdays, Christmases. He's running it down. I was curling. I was doing biceps. And I was magnificently obsessed. If you want something, you have to be magnificently obsessed. This is my midnight dream, motherfucker. And so that's how he sold it. And that was his personality. Most people can't do that. Most realists cannot sell your dream. It's very hard to be a realist and sell your dream to people.
I like that. He said I was in there every day. Christmases,
Yeah,
birthdays.
right. And he's like, I mean, it was called the entire F impossible thing. Like, they said man cannot fly. Man can fly until the Wright brothers said, F y'all, we gonna fly, and they flew. you know,
Right.
I'm editing a lot because we're on social media, but if you ever get
Right.
a chance, look up CT Fletcher F Impossible because it's the most motivational thing. I'll make it in my alarm clock, but my wife would kill me if she woke up to that every single morning. Um,
What's funny though is that he's also the same one who had a heart attack
yep.
and had a heart transplant too. But it's so crazy because I've read both of David Goggins' books,
Uh-huh.
and David Goggins doesn't seem like he doesn't. He says that you can do any of the same stuff that he does, but he doesn't make it really seem like that.
Yeah.
Whereas CT Fletcher makes like he'd be like, dude, come work out with me. He'd be all right. We're gonna have some fun doing this, right? But if you watch, if you juxtapose the position of him and Homeboy, it doesn't seem like this is the same thing. Hold on.
Well, I would say David Goggins more, and to answer Fearless's point, I almost say David Goggins more represents the concept of this thing is gonna be hard. You're gonna raise your threshold of pain to do it, and so that's how you're gonna do it. Whereas CT Fletcher is like, yeah, it's hard. Let's go tackle it. Whereas an enthusiastic, where he's kind of leading you into wanting to tackle the hard and difficult thing. But like I said, um, as realists, it's very hard to get people to invest in your dream because when you're a realist, you know what can absolutely fucking go wrong, and you're not going to sugarcoat it for anybody. And most people don't want to hear about the negative outcomes. Just like if there was a restaurant guy who was on YouTube who was saying, this is where restaurants fail and this is why this business sucks and you shouldn't get into the business model. He would not most people would not watch it. But the people who did watch him would have a lot of success.
Oh yeah.
The handful of people that did watch their content would have a tremendous amount of success because this man is telling you, he's giving you the blueprint to have success, and it's not fun and it sucks. But like I said, it's a weird thing where I feel like on social media, people want to be lied to. Why you can watch on Instagram, you see the models on Instagram, and that's how they trap you, and they're on the beach somewhere, and you're like, damn. So, for women, they'll sit there and scroll and see the Instagram model on the beach, living the soft life and everything, and they're like, damn, I want to be like that. Or the Instagram models in Dubai, glitz and glammed out, and they'll see like, damn, I want to be like her. And it's like, you know what they do to the models in Dubai? You know what she had to do to get there? You don't want to be like that. You don't want to endure what she had to endure, but she's not going to show you the negative side of it because nobody will watch her stuff. And she said, I had to go through rank humiliation at the hands of billionaires to get over here.
Oh, wow.
And so I have this, people like to live in their delusions. And so it's hard for me as a content creator. I'll be honest with you. It's hard for me as a content creator to reach a lot of people because I'm not wired to sit there and bullshit you. I cannot do it. Like my brain, my imposter syndrome fires so hard that I will absolutely, I'm petrified that somebody me telling somebody something that's not true and them finding out for themselves, as opposed to me telling you on the front end, this thing ain't true. Does that make sense? I can't, it's hard for me to come up with that line of bullshit. And as a result, because I can't come up with the line of bullshit, it makes it hard to get people in the funnel. It makes people hard to get people to click because people don't want reality. They do everything to escape reality in their regular lives. Why so many people watch TV instead of read books, Fearless?
Yeah. But I mean, at the same time though, man, that's why it's important and imperative for people like us to consistently offer hope.
Yeah.
And offer that other I think that it's important to offer hope and inspire people to reach higher precipices And I think that the reason why is because of what you just said, because most people would rather get on their phone as opposed to pick up a book. Most people would rather be
Yeah.
sold a hill of beans than the reality that, hey man, you suck. And if you want to get better, this is how we're gonna have to do this. And again, I mean, even with myself choosing to go back to college, man, I done put that shit off for so long. I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna be here another 4 years, do
Mhm.
get something out of it.
Right.
You know, and this is not it's not only an investment for myself, but it's an investment that I'm making on the behalf of my future. You know what I mean? And even thinking about, how am I going to pay for all this? Like, I'm not worried about that. I'll let the future take care of that. Right now, my job is to step forward. That's it. Step forward, do the work. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I've made this something way more than what it needs to be or whatever. And plus, I love to learn. My son's in school right now, so I figured, fuck it. We could both be in school right now.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, like, no, I 100% understand exactly what you're saying. But I think that we've all been sold this, oh man, that life's gonna be a lot easier, that you really don't have to work for it. It should just come overnight type stuff. And like, oh, okay, cool. Is that really what we're doing? Okay. And I mean, shit, if that's what it is, and that's what it is. But I think that at this moment, I mean, dude, like this is the shit show that we signed up for.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we can't. I mean, yeah, we can sit there and talk shit about it, but then at the same time, I'm gonna ask you, what are you gonna do about it? You know what I'm saying? Like we see all these injustices happening and people being treated any kind of way and talking out the side of their mouth and letting our president amp their asses up. Okay, cool. What you gonna do about it? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Again, we live in this hyper reality it's kind of like a reality TV. Well, no, now it's a reality TV based on a whole bunch of, what you call them, content creators that
Right.
are trying to sell you some shit. Every time I go on get on Instagram, you see another Instagram model. This one, and you see that one. I go up and I look to see like how many subscribers they have. It's one of them 1.5, 1.1, 900 and some thousand.
Hmm.
One of them at like 8 million. And I mean, they're not saying anything. They just stand there, look around, like, oh, okay, that's what's up. You
Right.
know, and and which is so crazy because you have a lot of people that are incels who will look at that type of stuff and just dog her. I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not. Yeah, hey, you're wonderful to look at. Here's the thing: I don't know if you're real or not because AI done made it so abundantly clear that most of y'all don't even exist. So I'm gonna go ahead and go find go find me some astronomy to look up. Go find me some Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson to listen to, or Dr. Roy, what's his name? Casagranda, I
I
think.
don't know.
Oh my god, he is one of my favorite he is literally one of my favorite historians in general. I love that guy. Um I love listening to him. So again, it's a choice.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can tap into this shit, but unlike the Matrix, you know you're in it. We know that we're in it. We know we're being fucked with. So if you continue on this road, that's on you. You
Yeah.
can't blame anybody else for presenting you this Plato's cave type situation. You know that you're in the cave. Take your get up, unattach yourself, and go outside a little bit.
Yeah. And I see that, and I think that's important. But I also think that some people want to be in the cave.
Perfect. Again, you got to remember with Plato in the Cave. The book that I'm talking about is The Republic, uh, by Plato,
Mhm.
and he was talking about this guy named Glucon, who who eventually makes himself aware. He gets out of the cave. He actually is let go, and he sees that all of these images are people behind him doing like little monsters and all this other stuff in front of this fire. And he's like, hold on, this is what I've been looking at the whole time. So he goes outside, he sees the stars, he sees the sunlight, and the sun blinds him.
Right.
It blinds him because he's like, what? This is reality? This boring, absolute nothingness. There's nothing really out here going on. This is reality. So then he goes back into the cave, and what's he do? He tries to set his brothers and sisters free. He tells them, "Hey, wake up! I can unlock your chains and take you outside with me. This is all an illusion." That's what he's saying to them. This whole thing is an illusion. You don't have to be here. You don't have to watch this. You don't have to be a part of this. Come
Right.
out. Let me show you what's happening. You know what they did to him?
Didn't they kill him
They
or something?
they no, they tried to kill him because they're like, no, you're lying. You're trying to destroy our lives because you've destroyed yours.
Hmm.
They beat the hell out of him. And you know what he did? Sat back down, put the choke chain back on, and watched the wall.
Yeah.
So again, we can choose to unattach ourselves and go out. How do you do that? That's what books are for. That's what calling people on the phone are for. That's what going out to lunch with people are for. That's what taking walks are for. That's what building something with your hands are for. Uh, 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 instead of ordering from Amazon, go to your local Lowe's or Home Depot or Menards, which we have here. Go get some material and build some stuff. This my wall of books that you guys see, we built that. I every part of that I we built. I know every tool. I know every flange. I know every pipe. I know the size, pause. I know the size of every pipe, pause.
Hmm.
I know the nails that we used. I know the wood that we used to do that. I know the shellacs that we used. I know the paint that we used. I know the inches of when we needed to saw it, sand the wood down.
Hmm.
There's nothing about this thing that I don't know because I participated in building it. My desk, look, I don't know if this thing is hardwood. My desk, I think, was like $800. I think no, maybe 4 or 5. It's between 4 and 8, somewhere around there. But I think it's like is this 8 foot? I don't know. Anyway, it's a really nice desk, and we put the pipes on the bottom of it, stud it up. We got flanges at the bottom to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. But again, my desk, I could take this thing anywhere, but it's mine. This thing's
Right.
heavy as hell. It was built from my hands. Even if you look up at my lights that I have, the shelf that I have above me, we built that too. The lights that I have, I had to go to Menards, but I had to think about what I needed, bought what I needed, drilled them up, and then I'm cool. So again, but that's part of unplugging yourself out of the matrix.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about. I met Brian in real life.
Right.
Like Brian and I have actually stood face to face and talked on a multitude of different topics. I know what type of car the man drives. I've seen it.
Yep.
We met at my bookstore. So not online, an actual mom and pop brick and mortar place. So again, when we talk about which with what you were talking about, my guy, this is what we're discussing
Mhm.
about unplugging yourself, getting out and making it happen.
Well, and also not believing somebody just because they're confident in what they're telling you.
Not at all.
Like, was it the watermelon diet guy? Damn near put himself in the hospital, and he had a bunch of people following what he was doing. He's like, I'm gonna just eat watermelons.
I don't know what that is. I don't. You can tell me. I'm good though, but you can tell me about it. What happened.
He decided that's all he was going to eat was watermelons. Like that was his entire diet. And people started following him, putting themselves in the yard behind him, because you're not just supposed to eat watermelons just as your only source of food. Um, the Liver King guy, who was talking about eating animal organs and stuff, and that's how he got his physique. And people believed him because he's confidently saying it. And you find out he did enough steroids to kill a small horse.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how he got his physique. It wasn't because he was eating organ meats. It was because he was eating allegedly raw organ meats and doing a lot of steroids.
Oh, wow.
And then healthy, like a body destroying amount of steroids. And so, um, but they confidently said it. And so people were like, well, they must know what they're talking about. Whereas, you get a kinesiologist, or what is it?
Mm.
Kinesthetic. How do you say it?
I think you're right. Kinesthesiologist.
Kinesthesiologist. You get them on there and they may say, yeah, let me look that up. Or that doesn't seem true. Let me check it out. People are like, no, they're bullshit. They're lying. But this guy over here is telling me to eat raw liver. He said it confidently, so I'm going to believe him. And so that's the trap we're falling into. And unfortunately, it's not going to land with us as much. The people that you have to really talk off the ledge are our kids.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that are the primary consumers of this stuff. You log on to TikTok. If you log on to TikTok, you go to that, where it has the recommendations and the stuff that's trending.
Mm-hmm.
Every single time I go to there is lies. Every time I go to there, it's something that's a complete and utter lie. I could open it right now and go to the For You section on TikTok, and it's going to be some shit that is not true. Something that's made up from somebody. And it's trending on there.
Right.
I've had to talk my son off the ledge for buying into something some fool said on TikTok. It's like, man, don't buy into it. Avengers Doomsday official trailer. I don't think that's out right now. And so you find stuff that is counterfactual on there, but it's listed as stuff that's trending, and so people don't take it as face value.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times TikTokers will get on there and just make up a bunch of shit, and they'll say it in that clipped, self-assured way, and people will absolutely cite it as, well, this person said this. That person is totally just making shit up on the spot.
Right.
Like, okay, so let's get into a little bit more hip hop ish kind of stuff. Have you seen the Jaguar Wright interviews? Have you ever seen Jaguar Wright?
Yeah, I have.
She sounds very confident in what she's saying. She sounds
Ain't she
100%
being
sure.
sued?
Yes, she's being sued.
All that lying shit she be doing.
She's being sued. She is schizophrenic and off of her meds. So she absolutely believes a lot of the stuff she says. But you're telling me that Jaguar Wright was in the room, and every single time she was in the room of all these movers and shakers in hip hop and R&B, she was always in the room every time.
Yeah.
Everybody. Where they said, we got to invite Jaguar Wright to this, because otherwise these opinions don't jump off. Y'all believe, and people were running with what she was saying, and it was absolute fabrications. A lot of it, like she had the axe to grind with Mary J. Blige, she had axe to grind with Erykah Badu, she had axe to grind with Jill Scott, all for different reasons. All of them
crazy. Like, why would you
pertaining to
why would you have a beef with the beautiful Erykah Badu?
Because she felt like Erykah Badu took her place in the Roots in the Roots Collective.
Our job is to be replaced.
Yeah, but also she has mental illness. But because she earnestly believes the things that she was saying, and she was so strident on it, people believed her. Dame Dash
Mhm.
does the same thing. He'll sit up there and tell you some outrageous shit, like it's not even in this realm of reality, because he says it with such confidence. People are like, man, he must be saying the truth, bro. He just telling them
Right.
truths that people ain't really. And
Yeah, that was really sad. I ain't gonna lie to you.
just because somebody says something that intersects with reality at points doesn't mean what they're saying is true.
Correct.
Like Jack Wright was talking about all the stuff with a lot of stuff with Diddy. Well, I mean, it wasn't, if you followed it, it wasn't a secret. The only thing that's the only a lot of the stuff that people have known for years is just becoming mainstream about Diddy. You had to follow the industry and stuff like that to
I
understand.
mean, right. I mean, Jamie Foxx talked about that all the time about the different parties that they were having and
Mhm.
this and the other, whatever. And I'm like, dude, everybody knew about that.
Yeah.
Everybody knew. I'm not even from there, and I knew about those parties.
Well, it's like, okay, and this is kind of an aside, but not really. So I was on a Black Nerds thread on one of my groups, and they're talking about the Cosby Show, and I'm like, y'all are applying today's goggles to the Cosby Show and talking about, well, the signs were there. No, they weren't. Like,
Yeah, no.
no, they weren't. The thing they reference is because I have pretty much all of Bill Cosby's albums.
Okay.
And even one of the ones that was before he started doing family friendly material, and he was still, where there was a time where a lot of Black comedians were kind of, they were the vanguards, they were on the outside of the comic industry. And so it was Richard Pryor and a lot of his other cohorts like Moms Mabley and Rudy Ray Moore and stuff, where they
Okay.
were doing X-rated kind of comedy. And so this was kind of, there's an album where Bill Cosby isn't 100% X-rated, but it's a lot more adult than the stuff he was that he was doing in the mainstream. And there's a mention of talking about, there's a joke in there where it kind of hints towards that's the kind of activity he was into. And it was a joke.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't have any idea unless you had Bill Cosby, the album was for adults only, and it was a cassette, and I had to buy it at a used bookstore.
Okay.
And it was a really rare cassette. You wouldn't know about it. And it was a one-off kind of joke. And I can't even remember what the joke was off the top of my head, but it was on that thing. And they're talking about, well, on the Cosby Show, he's joking about the barbecue sauce he puts in the bar. We had no concept of what he's talking about.
Okay.
And they're like, well, wasn't it weird that he was a gynecologist? He had a gynecologist's office in his basement. No, if you've never been to New York, he had a brownstone. He had a storefront that was his office that was attached to his house. There was nothing weird about that.
I
And,
mean,
well, it was weird.
I get the whole thing about him being a gynecologist.
Yeah.
It'd been different if he was a dentist.
Yeah.
Or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like,
But
I'm just saying.
originally, okay, and here's the story behind it, because originally he was supposed to be a plumber. And his wife Camille said, no, you need to be a doctor.
Oh, I mean, but come on, that one.
Well, and
he could have been an educator.
But,
no, I mean,
but they didn't even approach it from a gynecologist. Basically, what we knew about him was he's a doctor who helped women who help babies and help women deliver babies. They didn't talk about the other side of the business. They talked about he helped women through pregnancy and
correct.
But people are like, oh, y'all should have known in hindsight. Like, no, we didn't. And I was 11 when the show went off air. Like, how would any reference? What reference frame of reference would I have for any of that stuff? But then also, I've had an argument where somebody is blaming me and you, like they're blaming our age cohort for enabling R. Kelly and Aaliyah. And I'm like, Aaliyah is 6 months older than me.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, and you know what's really funny is that I knew people from Chicago at that time.
Yeah.
And they were saying that, dude, that wasn't anything that was like out of the norm. They said that, dude, they were grown men picking them kids, picking up girls since they were kids.
Well,
and they were grown men and women at that time. They were like, dude, that ain't nothing new. Well, they've been doing that.
But when we were growing up, it was industry gossip. And we didn't have any internet to verify any of that stuff. I thought it was
we had DVDs to figure it out though.
But we didn't get the DVDs until 2000 in the 2000s, bro.
Yeah.
We didn't know R. Kelly was on that kind of timing. Like there was industry rumors.
I did.
Well,
because I had a homegirl from Chicago.
Yeah.
She used to tell me about that all the time. But again, I was young though.
Okay, so I'm looking at it like She came out 94, right? Like
Yeah,
94, 95.
he was diddle-dallying her then.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. At the time, I would have been like 14 or 15 years old. And the rumors were, and I remember it on like Video Soul or something, they asked about it and they kind of laughed it off. It was industry rumors at the time. And we were like, that's kind of weird, but there was no way to verify that unless you had some insider knowledge. There was no way to verify what he was on until the case came out and he actually got arrested and was in court for the assault in the 2000s, where the DVDs and all that stuff came out. We had no frame of reference to understand it. One, and two, I was 14 years old. I was younger than the girl he was targeting. The only thing that we thought was weird was when R. Kelly came to Omaha, he's pulling young girls up on stage and grinding on them. And I thought that was weird.
I didn't know that.
I thought that was weird. I'm like, that's weird for an adult to be doing that. And the Aaliyah thing I thought was weird. All I had was I thought it was weird, but it sounded like industry gossip because people in the industry gossip. All that stuff that we found out about him came out after the internet got into everybody's house. And that was late 90s, early 2000s. And so you're like, I'm sitting there like, well, y'all enabled it, y'all talking and stuff like that. I was like, she's older. Aaliyah was older than me. Do you understand the age difference? Like, what are we supposed to do at 14 and 15 years old against R. Kelly and grown men? Blame the adults that were in there in the room enabling all this stuff. But I didn't have nothing to do with it. I was off R. Kelly by the time I was old enough. By the time I was in college, I was off R. Kelly. And that was a little bit before the trial came out. I had never been I've never been a fan of him. What I'm saying is we had no frame of reference to understand all this stuff.
No.
And so we only knew what we saw out there. And a lot of times we use the recency bias to say, well, y'all should have known X, Y, and Z. Well, we didn't. We didn't know all this stuff about Bill Cosby. The reason this entire Bill Cosby thing came up was Hannibal Buress told a joke.
A joke.
And it opened up all of this stuff.
Yeah, it was a joke. And I don't even know if it was I don't even know if it was anything personal.
No, it was just offhand. It's something that had been going around and nobody really knew about it because it hadn't really, in the comedy circles, they knew about it, but it really hadn't crossed over. And he mentioned it, and that's where it kind of started this whole thing about Bill Cosby. But it's not excusing anything about him. But what I'm saying is, when we go from this frame of reference where we're looking at it from today's understanding and use of internet and how we can Google stuff and find out anything, that did not exist in 1994. You had the same outlets everybody else had.
Correct.
Unless you knew somebody personally.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, let's go on. Let me jump.
No, I like that though, man. No, that was actually a good one. I like that.
So we'll finish this up. People distrust experts now. Why? Well, a lot of times experts have been the ones that have lied to us about stuff. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of experts have lied. I look into the Oprah to right-wing grifter pipeline was crazy, bro. Like
the what?
The Oprah Winfrey to right-wing grifter pipeline is crazy, bro.
What are you talking about?
Okay, let's look at it. Where did Dr. Phil get his start?
Oprah.
Where did Dr. Oz get his start?
I have no idea.
Oprah.
Did he?
Yeah.
I do remember hearing about the Oprah bump. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. Where did JD Vance? Where did his book get featured?
I have no idea.
Oprah's book club.
Wait a minute, hold on. How long has that book been out?
It's been around for a while. It's near the end of her run.
JD Vance's book?
Yeah. Hillbilly Elegy or Eulogy? Hillbilly Eulogy?
That book's been out that long.
Yeah.
Are you sure? You might want to look that up, man.
Look it up. I'm pretty sure. Hillbilly, not Eulogy, Elegy. Let me see. When did it release date? Not the movie. Book. My Google's Googling. Dropped 2016.
Oh, wow. That's, man. That's almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, a book where J.D. Vance got up there and lied about being a hillbilly, and basically threw a bunch of poor people under the bus. But Oprah was one of the ones that gave that book visibility. Um,
Oh, for real?
and so I'm not blaming her, but there was a pipeline there because Oprah was kind of seen as the hallmark of trust. If she's on, and my mom was into it. If it was on Oprah, she trusted Oprah. She trusted whoever showed up on that show.
Right.
And so Dr. Oz, Dr. Phil, I clocked Dr. Phil early on. Like, I don't trust this dude. I didn't watch no Dr. Phil stuff. But um, Dr. Oz, he had his show. He's up there saying, this new thing is going to change the game and all this other stuff. You find out he owns a supplement company. And so all the supplements he was talking about that were game changers are things that he was hyping up on his show.
Okay.
But experts have lied to us. And so institutions have failed. Experts have lied to us. And that's why people don't trust experts. But, or experts are wrong publicly. But here's the thing. A lot of times when we see newspapers that issue retractions, a newspaper that issues a retraction is actually a factual newspaper.
Right.
A newspaper that never a newspaper or publication that never issues retractions is lying. But we've inverted what our belief system is on that. So if somebody issues a retraction, we see that as a negative thing as opposed to a positive thing, like they're trying to correct the record.
Okay.
And so some publications learn never issue retractions, even if you're wrong.
I mean, yeah. Well, I mean, why would they?
People conflate institutional failure with intellectual failure, and distrust becomes default. So we distrust everything except the things that sound like they make sense in our brain. Well, understand this. So just because something sounds like it makes sense in your brain doesn't mean that it's actually factual.
Right.
So we talked about how people see the eye lasers thing episodes and episodes ago. A lot of people believe that we emit something from our eyes and that's what creates our vision. And it's not true. It's a misunderstanding how science works. Distrust. Some distrust is earned, bro. Like some people, like some of these institutions, experts, they don't deserve our trust. But
No.
when we it goes back to the contrarian, where the Kanye, where you're going to literally say the opposite of everything somebody says, hoping to find a truth in that. And that's what he does. You say red, he says blue.
The ultimate contrarian.
All that weird Hitler shit that Kanye is in is a form of his contrarianism. And then when they ask him on, he's like, "Well, Hitler didn't really harm black people," which is not true.
Oh my God, no! He didn't give a fuck about anybody except for certain people. That was it.
Ask black POWs if they survived one of his camps. If they were able to survive one of his camps, ask what it was like in there. Yeah. Ask black Germans.
Correct.
Germany there was a whole genocide. Germany did
in Africa.
In Africa. Mm-hmm. German, I gotta figure out it was Namibia. Yeah, Namibia. They did a whole genocide there. And that's where they got a lot of practice for a lot of those soldiers and stuff ended up becoming leadership in Hitler's army. And that's where they learned a lot of the stuff. And if you want to really give yourself nightmares, go look up the genocide Germany conducted in Africa, in Namibia. It's absolutely disgusting and vile. For Kanye to say, well, they never hurt black people is an egregious, absolute distortion lie.
I mean, we do.
It's just him saying something opposite.
Again, bro, like I don't see why anybody takes anything that man says to. I wouldn't listen to him.
How many Ye super fans do you know? Because I know a couple.
I don't. I
know a couple, and they will fight you to the ground on him.
Yeah, that's again. You don't have to fight me. This is what he said.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no discussion and hey, no, this is what he meant. This is what the man said.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you can argue what he meant all day long, but you can't argue what the man said.
Right.
Just like with Trump, Trump followers, you can argue with me all day long about what he meant, but this is what he said.
These are his actual words.
These are his words. I'm
So
not making it up.
we're
This is what
about
the man said.
we're almost 3 hours in, so I'm gonna just throw this last thing out here because we're halfway through the thing. The thing I'm gonna throw at y'all is this: skepticism is healthy, cynicism is just lazy. A skeptic is going to take each thing as its own individual thing and apply a critical lens to it to make sure it balances and passes the factual smell test to make sure that there's a factual basis. Just universally disbelieving everything is just lazy. It's just intellectual shorthand.
Yeah.
You're just applying a framework of everything is a lie and everything's false just because you don't want to do the critical work of individualizing and analyzing things on their own merits. So we're about halfway through. We'll wrap this up at another episode. We may not be the next one, but we're going to wrap this up. Fearless, before we start signing this off, do you have anything?
Yeah, I just ordered some more shit from Temu.
Okay.
Whatever. You know what, man? Here's the thing. I'm here if you want to talk. I'm here if you need another perspective, and I'm here if you need things reframed. Other than that, man, that's what it is.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and put that. I'm gonna put Fearless's QR code up there. So if you want a perspective, this is the man to talk to. Go ahead and scan that QR code. Book a time.
That's literally what I do, champ.
For me, if you want to get started on the content creation journey and start the entire process of recording, if you want to know why, because one of the things is a lot of times I'll tell you, hey, you need to do this, but why you need to be recording yourself. As a business owner, one of the things is there's a lot of different ways to make content, right? But the rawest lens and the way that brings most clarity to you in your goals is video, because you got to get to the fucking point and what the point of your offer is. And so if you're looking at jumping into the content creation thing, you need to have video in your tool bag and know how to speak to camera. So that's what I'm offering you. Offering you a way to record video and record yourself without any of the overhead or anything, so that you can just start recording and start getting used to the process of creating stuff. I do run weekly sprints, weekly content creation sprints, where I give you a hook to use for a video to draw clients in. I believe this one is, I gotta look it up. This week's hook is basically you're telling somebody a quick fix that can change their life. So let me get the words right for that. But yeah, that's where my link is. It's a link to my Stan store. You're gonna find all of my tools in there that I do for marketing and video creation, and they're available for you at a generous fee. I have a toolkit in there that has all my best AI prompts, so that you can make AI into your personal assistant, and get some stuff done and create content. So this week's prompt is the simplest way to fix this today. You're answering that question for your clients. What is the simplest way to fix a problem that they may have? And then they can get answers today, not next week, not next month, today.
Okay.
So create a video that addresses that, post it on your socials, tag me in it.
Okay, I love that.
So that's what we got, y'all. I got a bunch of new sound effects I even uploaded that I didn't get a chance to use. Like, I was on it this week, bro.
For what?
I got sound effects that I've uploaded. Like, I wanted to roll them out this week.
Where'd you get them from?
Downloaded them off the internet.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, man. Now you're gonna have to. Champ, you're gonna have to put some of them up, man.
They should be in the background music thing. The sound effects panel on media assets. Anyway, y'all, that's what we got. I do appreciate y'all. Thanks for tuning in. Me and Fearless will get up with you guys next week. Talk to y'all later. Peace.